Good evening, Tuesday night, people. Please excuse the chaos of my kittens running around the office behind me, but I think they're not going to calm down, and I have been waiting for them to do it for the last 10 minutes. So, instead, as they climb all over the desks, I'm going to show you where we stand this month. I was thinking of calling this a bitty bag of bitty bits, but end of month catch-up just seems a bit, better. So here we are, end of month catch-up. So NextPy UI 2. It's called 2 because I have a second binary lying around that I like to keep for testing. So still version 11. Mostly it's been internal bug fixes and fixing things like memory leaks and stuff like that. So the first thing you can see, we have a couple of new buttons. One is delete. You can't delete directories. That is by design at this point in time. The other thing is the S button, which allows us to switch drives. So here I've switched to the internal user storage. NextPy has a small cache that users can keep files on persistently, but it's never been easy to access or use. So one of the things we hope to do with NextPy UI and further versions of NextPy is make that more accessible, and that is what this UI here does. I've had a few memory leaks with this, so I've sorted them out recently, but just to give you a brief example, I've copied the boot config into the RAM cache. So if I do this, and that, there we go, and it's just the same as it would be on the normal RAM drive, and we have various blah blah blah, as you can see. I'll just quit that for now. Let's see what else I'd like to show you. Actually, what? Yes, I'd really like to delete that file. There we go, see, and deletion works, and I'll press S to switch back to the RAM drive, and it's just that simple. So that's where NextPy is at the moment. Oh, there was one other thing I meant to show you there, never mind. Silly me. And that is, previously we have had some issues where if I pick a file to upload, let's pick that there, that the uploads used to be in short file name all in uppercase, and as you can see now that has been fixed, and we have the file names being proper mixed case and long file name again. So those are the things that we've done since the last NextPy review. We're now into the Linux side of things, which is a very boring thing to be showing off. So I don't know quite what we'll do for that for next time, but we'll work something out. Now, I'm going to show you something else that you've seen before, or sort of. Load qe.gas. I have a little basic file to help me here. And remember QE, and it says out of memory because this text file is over 16K, so it does load them gracefully, it just doesn't show them. This may look very, very, very familiar for you. If you've seen QE or used the QE editor on the distro, well, I must confess to you, I am lying, as implied by that little sidebar. This isn't QE, this is evil. So what is evil? E is basically QE that I forked and added a bunch of features to. So if I do that, the first thing that this does, it has a config file, and the config file lets us change lots of things. So I have intentionally configured this config file to look just like QE, because I like the way that QE looks. That's why I made it look the way it does. But let's just delete all those files. Let's save that file and quit. So now if I launch Evil, that's what it actually looks like when it's not configured. So you can see it's a very sort of similar basic bare bones editor, but it's a little bit more in the stale pixel styling. And by that I will show you, let's see, set font, oops, I can't type, there's no surprise to anyone there. Let's set font equal Badger. Unknown font face name Badger, not recognized. Any key to continue. So there are already, you can see the telltales of a dialog system appearing. But if I do set font equals 60s, there are lots of built-in fonts. They're documented in the documents. This isn't very stable yet. I'm really calling it Preview Release 2. The bits and bobs are on GitHub if you want to play with it and help me debug it. But it doesn't do an awful lot more than QE at this stage, outside of colours and fonts. But if colours and fonts are important to you, or you want to help testing, check out the Stale Pixels GitHub, and you'll be able to find Evil, that text editor. So let's see, next. Ponderings on power plugs. So the Ngo clone has shipped, and that is great. I can't tell you how happy I am about that. I have one on order, and I know a few of the guys on Discord do as well. But a couple of people were selling them, and one of the shops was selling them with 1 amp power plugs. So I want to talk a little bit about power. If you're only here for the demos, move along and skip it. This is just going to be a demo of some screenshots and a talking head while I talk about things briefly. Power. This demo, by the way, is being powered by a wonderful little tool called SHOWSIMG. In the next version of the distro, this CLI will be a doc command is built in, and I will show you the basic that runs this at the end if you want to see how simple this demo was to create. So, on a naked Next, a no accessories, a dev kit, a bare Ngo, whatever, a 1 amp PSU is probably going to be okay. But when I say naked, I mean naked. I do not mean plus. I mean no wireless here, nothing plugged into it. Even if you're like plugging in like an 8-bit do a wireless Mega Drive pad, or anything like that requires a supplemental power from the Next, I would propose that realistically you're no longer in the lands of a naked Next. At that point, you've wandered into the plus Next, as I like to call it. So a Next Plus, a Next that comes with Wi-Fi and an RTC, realistically you want a 1.5 amp power supply for this. Regulated 9 volt DC, 1.5 amp power supply. The logic behind this is actually pretty simple. A 1 amp power supply plus for the Next in and of itself is okay. But the second you throw wireless onto your Next, I've got 3 that I've done tests with just in the last 2 days because the conversation on Discord about the topic of the power for the Ngo. One of my ESPs uses 113 milliamps when transmitting. That's more than 10% of a 1 amp power supply. So, for the safety's sake, like I say, if you're plugging anything into your Next, you really want to be safe with this sort of stuff so power droops don't cause crashes. So a 1.5 amp power supply if you've got a Next with a Wi-Fi module in it. Now, oh, that did work, okay. If you've got an accelerated Next, by that I mean a Wi-Fi and Pi, 2 amps. And I say this very simply because an idling Pi will use 200 milliamps. A Pi that is playing a SID will use an extra 200 milliamps. A Pi that uses the HDMI, or a Pi that uses the GPU for doing extreme calculations, is going to use more power again. So you can understand by the time you factor in all these accessories, you're already getting over 1.5 amps. So if you've got an accelerated Next, dev kit, or realistically the people I'm targeting here are the folks who are getting Ngos and new clones, you probably want a 2 amp power supply. And if you're like most of us folks who've got a Next and you've got all the funky things plugged into it, and this photo is from Tim Gilbert's, thank you Tim, and here's Tim's dev kit there with both a real micro drive and one of Charlie Ingley's V drives on his interface 1, you realistically want 2.5 amps of power. Now, I call this the accessorized Next. So basically, you're using your expansion bus, you're using your USB. If you've got stuff plugged into your Next that is either moving parts, so mass storage, a controller that has vibration motors in it on the USB through the Pi, or floppy drives, or printers, or micro drives, anything that has like a motor or a vibration widget, stuff like that, anything that's got an obvious power draw, any accessories that used to get hot back in the day, any accessories on the expansion bus that are physically quite large and don't have additional power bricks, all these sorts of things, probably talking about 2.5 amps for safety's sake, so when you're using everything at full tilt, the Pi doesn't lose power and suddenly underclock, turn off, cause problems for you. So this is sort of a basic spread of pondering of power plugs. Realistically, most of you are probably going to be alright with a 2 amps plug, but if you're accessorizing, if you're putting lots of things dangling off the back of your Next, if you're considering things with extra RF like Paul Ann's DB+, you're probably talking about a 2.5 amp power supply. And that's it, dear Tuesday night people. I'm done. If I breathe in very deeply, I can smell my dinner being cooked by my darling wife, so I'm going to leave it there, and I will see you next Tuesday, and thank you all very much. But one last thing, next month's going to be different. Next month, I've got a lot of stuff that is not very good for demoing. Stuff that's involving Linux, the actual Pi payload package, as I've mentioned. Say that one quick. Pi payload package. I need to do some things with our hosting environments. I need to do some web dev for the ZXDB mirror that is directly downloadable files from the DB straight to your Next. I've got prototypes of that need working on. I need to do very boring stuff with our networks firewall. We've got 4 new servers coming online for devs and hosting that I've not configured yet. So, as it says at the bottom, this is all really boring demo-y stuff. Now, I'm well aware there are people who watch this video who aren't owning their Next yet, and thank you for watching. I love your enthusiasm. And I'm well aware there are people who are watching this video who do have their Next. thank you for watching. I'm glad you got your next. I hope you like it. Thank you for your enthusiasm. Anyway, if you're not really an 8-bit hacker, but you're a web dev or you're a Linux sysadmin, then give me a poke on Discord, because maybe there is some bits and bobs that you would like to help with. The ZXDB mirror for downloading files straight from the internet and games straight from the internet to your Next is something I would sorely like a little bit of help with. Not because I need the help, but just because it would free me up to be working on NextPy itself. So if you've got experience of Node.js, if you have experience in particular of using ORMs with Node.js and databasey stuffs, I would sorely like to hear from you. And there's already code on GitHub that you can look at, but there's a bunch more that I'm ready to share, so you can be part of building some of the server-side plus experience for the Next and moving things on in that department. It's stuff that I would... wrong button there, silly me. It's stuff that I would sorely love to be doing more of, but just the limited number of hours in the week, and I'm already burning 40 plus hours on dev and stuff and things, plus a real job, plus a wife, plus 2 noisy kittens. So if you would like to help me work on any of the projects that you see on the right hand side there, if you think you can help, or you'd like to help with any of the open source stuff that's on the GitHub account for Stale Pixels, please come and poke me on Discord. And in the interim, I'll see you next Tuesday.